there's one
We
that's
should talk about it tonight. We've got the Goldin 100. So
let's go. Oh yeah, let's go Goldin 100. Because that's nuts. And we'll
the last time I checked, which was this morning, Superman 170 was 50 grand ahead of Action Comics 130. But I don't know if that's still the case.
it's 100 grand above.
Ah,
So it's 1.15 mil, and Action is 1.05 right now.
I'd be shocked if the Action Comics doesn't get 2 million. And I'm not putting down the Superman one at all. I think the Superman one will probably sell for more than 2 million. It may well sell for more than the Action one. It's a high grade copy, and there really aren't many high grade copies of Superman 1. So if you want to own one, this is the one. But just the fact Superman's first appearance, first real comic book, hero comic book in 1938. I mean, if you had to give me one of those two, I'd probably go with the Action one. It would be a close call though, because they're both extremely special, but they're special in different ways. Like the Superman one is special because I think there are 3 copies 7.0 or above.
That's crazy.
So yeah, the fact that this is a 7.0 it's exceedingly rare. There might be 180 and 185 if I remember correctly. I won't bother to check now, but there aren't many. So this is in the top 0.1%. I mean, there are only about 100 copies of this book, I believe. Like this is very rare, universal. A lot of them were destroyed in the war. The war effort, combined with the war effort and the paper drives and the 1950s book burnings in the United States, which I still it's not even for me, it's not even so much the fact that all those great comics were destroyed, it's the fact that in the 1950s a German guy writes a book about how comic books are seducing the young innocent children.
Seduction of the innocent. Yeah.
And then so you listen to that guy, and then you organize book burnings, and kids take your comic books, burn them in the town squares of America. I mean, the old order of things was if you couldn't afford an Action one, which most people can't, you could at least get a Superman one.
Not anymore.
But now, not anymore. Even Sean and I sold our 1.5 at the Elite last week. Actually, it went for 130 something thousand. It's not a particularly nice 1.5. I mean, it's certainly a solid universal 1.5, but you can clearly see damage on the cover, and so that's probably why it sold for only in inverted commas.
Only 150,
only 135. Which is quite a low sale for a 1.5, but I mean, literally, that's what you're dealing with now. Coverless copies sell for tens of thousands. So this is a beautiful book. Anyway, let's talk about Action One. Returning to the real world, this is the most important comic book in history. Even though I'm a Batman fan, I can't really argue the point that Detective 27, which we are selling in the next session of Goldin 100, by the way, a 6.5. I can't really
6.5?
6.5.
What?
I know a 6.5 is beyond respectable. Like a 3.0 is extremely respectable, and this is a very nice 3.0. I'm surprised it's only a 3.0, to be honest.
I know it looks great. I was gonna say, like,
must be something wrong with the inside. I can't see a lot wrong. Oh, there's a little bug chew on the back cover there on the bottom corner. But still, I mean, really, 3, at least the 4, surely. I mean, look how nice the front is.
It's 85 years old. It is
85 they're not supposed to take that into account when they're grading books, but yeah, I don't know when this was graded, but it does seem very harsh. I mean, there must be something wrong with the inside. There must be torn pages or something. I don't understand why it's only a 3.0. This should be a 4.
Also, I mean, look, I'm not one to, I've been burned on the old labels, right? So, like, for example, you know, that one on the screen, and then this one, you know, it's the old label. It's got the sticker, and a lot of people, I mean, this is a 9.8, so this ain't going anywhere but down. So there's no like, hey, let me crack it, press it, and whatever. But there are, you know, I've seen people have been successful, and again, I think it dates back to our last conversation where, like, on the bottom of the screen was like, Ashley is not an investment advisor. I'm not a regrading advisor, but you know, something like that. if you have experience and you know what you're doing and know or have a guy like that is really good at it. Again, this is a multi-million-dollar book, so I wouldn't. I'm not saying
No, no,
I'm not, but
it's
it
not,
could be
it's
for.
not a candidate. It's not a candidate for.
Yeah, you don't want to open this up at all. But again, it could be. Maybe it is a 4. Maybe it is really higher than that. And I think if you have it, you just and if you were ever going to sell it, whoever gets this from this auction, I would just not crack it, but just say in the listing, presents with a 4.0, or like just say it's better because I've seen people sell older labels for more and saying like this is a candidate for press and clean or whatever, and
For
not
sure.
take the
I
risk of
mean,
doing it.
this doesn't have any notes on the label. That's what I was just checking, and it does strike me as surprising that it's only a 3.0. It doesn't have a detached cover. I was thinking, oh, maybe the cover's detached. No. Yeah, why is this only a 3.0? It's shocking. Anyway, yeah, I just think like Superman was badass for the first little while before he became sort of softer and a bit more palatable for parents. But he was a really tough enemy back in those days.
Well,
So
he slaps a woman in the in Action 1, right? I think he like kind of like him slaps her or something like that.
yeah,
Talk
there's
about different times. Talk about different times.
yeah, talk about different kind. Yeah,
Let's go
two
through
other
that.
books in this auction. The PEP 22 is the rarest book in the auction and one of the rarest books in the hobby. It's the first appearance of Archie. But in addition to being the first appearance of Archie, which is pretty much a minor, I mean, that's no disrespect to Archie fans, but Archie is probably if he were a celebrity, he'd be a B or a C list celebrity. He'd be like one of those guys that was on a reality TV show and is famous.
Yeah.
Show. But this cover is also an absolute classic cover.
Mm.
It's a World War II cover. It's the Axis versus Allies kind of thing. Very graphic. It's super done. It's super well done, and it's iconic. This cover. But then you add to the fact how rare this book is. It's exceptionally rare. Exceptionally rare. At the moment, it's sitting, I think, 150. I think this is it's going to double. I think maybe, but if
I
it
mean,
doesn't,
if anyone's looking for must see TV tonight at 9 p.m., I would. If you're not bidding, I mean, if you log in at
bid in the
8:30
background, have a separate screen open and bid.
and just bid and just watch. Like I do love. I'm one of those guys who still want to get like I think there needs to be auction commentary. Like I feel like that would be a blast to watch because it's just again like it's aspirational.
All that to say, let's talk about Amazing Fantasy 15 because we were talking about Spider-Man earlier, and this is the first appearance. This is probably the highest graded copy that most people could actually aspire to own. It's in the top 4% in the census, and
this seems undergraded too. Like the corners are incredibly crisp.
There's no marble chipping. There's no real damage to the front cover. And again, it has to be like at least an 8. I don't know quite why it's only a 7.5.
The back is flawless. Like I mean, that's like the back is like a 9.8 on it. Like there's literally nothing wrong with it.
What's wrong with it? It's got some spine creases for sure, but nothing like there's really no damage to the front cover. So I think this could be an upgrade candidate. It's got a QES label, which is one of those companies that a third party. So they'll look at graded books like from CGC or CBCS, and they'll say, "Oh, this is exceptional for the grade," and they'll stick a sticker on. So that helps. But what's interesting about the timing of this is that in the pandemic, a 7.5 sold for $300,000. And the last 3 sales, one was just under 200, one was just under 180, and the most recent one was 117,000. With buyer's premium, this is already sitting around about 117.
I think it's at 90s, and then it's looking at 116 with buyer's premium. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. So it's around about where the last sale was, but it can only go up. And the point I was going to make was that this is an opportunity. I'm not saying that everyone can afford one of these. I'm not going to buy this, but at this point in the market, you've seen a glimpse of what the future value of this book is going to be. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's the biggest hero in the world. It's like the pandemic bubble gave us a little glimpse into what 2030 prices are going to look like. And here we are in 2023 with the sort of market correction having happened and books are at least moving sideways, if not trending up, here's an opportunity. That's all I'm going to say. Like, there's some Fantastic Four #1. These two books are well
Yeah.
oversold. And we know there's a Fantastic Four movie coming out, so that would be my other big pick. But AF-15 in this grade, pretty rare, unreserved auction. Go for it. Honestly, go for it. And if you need help affording it, if you have other things to sell, contact me urgently, and we'll help you out any way we can.
God, this is gorgeous. I also, it's funny too, because some people, I've seen some really, really beat up AF-15s. I mean, obviously, right? It's the same thing as anything else for comics that old. And I think some people mistake the waves, right? The action streams as the cover being damaged. I know I have in the past, not knowing. And this one is so clear that you literally know. It's rare. You actually know it's supposed to be for movement. I've seen some that it really does look like creases in the cover that are, if it's damaged enough. And it's funny that this is so crisp. It's to show him like whooshing through the air.
There's two things about this copy that I really like. The first is that there's no marble chipping. These books almost always have marble chipping. The second is that, and I don't know whether it's just me or I focus on the wrong things when I'm looking at books, but I always think about the overall color of a cover and that impact on the grade of a book. The chocolate brown on the top of AF-15 is never as nice as this. It's always a bit faded, and it shows creases and chips and things. It shows them always, and this one's like almost perfect. It's an amazing 7.5. I'm shocked. Honestly, there's not an 8 at least.
It's got to be higher. This is too nice. I mean, I keep zooming in on the corners. Like, oh, let's really zoom in. That's nuts. I mean, look at this, and look at this side. I mean, again, so key in people before we go, like what Marvel chipping is, because I think you gave me a different perspective than I was aware. I always was aware and known. I think Steve Borak told me this. Like, these were made to be advertisements originally, so they were meant to be just deteriorate and throw out and whatever. So the quality of the book wasn't as good. But you had a thing where it got stuck, and like you said, like the blades weren't sharp enough to cut it. Is what you were explaining
Right.
one time?
Yes. So the covers are obviously separately produced from the books, and then they're stapled. And the stack of covers would be cut with a giant blade, and if the blade got blunt, it wouldn't cut cleanly through. It would kind of bruise the paper on its way through. And there are plenty of examples of these books where you see pre-chipping, what we call pre-chipping, where the damage has happened, but the pieces haven't flaked off. They're just kind of holding on. And the chips are kind of half cut. They're sort of like they're there, and they're not going to flake off in the future either. It's just the way it's happened. Somewhere in the stack, the blade has got enough momentum that it cuts through without causing the actual chips, but it creates a sort of enough damage that if you look closely, you can see the sort of like circular bruises. And those pieces of paper, in a slightly different part of the stack, would have become frail, and eventually they'll flake off. Yeah, so it's all to do with the blade, but yeah, it's a common thing. Like, everyone knows that marble chipping's a thing. This doesn't have it, and the corners, and as you say, the corners and the edges are really nice. The top left is a bit blunted, a tiny bit blunted, but I mean, come on, we're splitting hairs here. I just don't understand. I don't understand why this hasn't been cracked and resubmitted, because I think it could be an 8, no problem.
I mean, the back is flawless.
It's not dirt.
Nuts.
No dirt. Maybe that bottom staple's a little on the dark side, a little bit. Maybe it's got a slight bit of not rust, but discolorate. I don't know. I'd have to pull the notes on this to have a look and see what's wrong.
Like you said, you're splitting hairs. I mean, this is cleaner than some, I wouldn't say modern books, but some books that I have that, are a little cheaper. So, I think I have like an 8.0 Fantastic Four 49, first Galactus full. That's a lot more common than an AF-15. This is just flaw. And why I mention that is because a lot of the backings are the same over that error. Like, they have the same, and that's why I look at this and I think of it. But this is amazing. I mean, I've never seen a backing like this. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Well, all these 4 books end tonight in the Goldin 100, an auction in which you can own Michael Jordan's flu game shoes, a Ty Cobb bat, and if you are really excited about things like this, you can also own a Triceratops skull. If you scroll down a little way,
Wow.
there's an actual Triceratops skull mounted on car. There it is, mounted
Oh
on
my
cars. It's
God.
all this thing 150,000. That's great.